So people are always asking me, Dr. Raj, what's the difference between mitral regurg and mitral valve prolapse? Well, this topic of valvular heart disease brings us to issues of the mitral valve in general. Walk you through mitral stenosis, and then have you differentiate between mitral regurgitation and mitral valve prolapse. And for learning purposes, please make sure that you distinguish and you keep separate mitral regurg and mitral valve prolapse. Trust me, it'll make your life so much more easier, and you'll be the MVP, get it? Haha, of this particular section. Let's begin. Mitral stenosis is where we are, and before we start, you need to conceptualize this. I already have, but it's about me imparting that conceptualization onto you. The mitral valve, stenosis, what's that mean? Difficulty with opening. In this case, the mitral valve doesn't want to open. When is the mitral valve supposed to open? Diastole. Good. So during diastole is when the mitral valve is supposed to open, but it does not. And so therefore, what kind of valvular heart disease would you categorize this as? A diastolic murmur, right? So now, we have two diastolic murmurs, or we will have two diastolic murmurs that we have gone through. The first one being aortic regurgitation, right? And with aortic regurgitation, it was the fact that the aortic valve wasn't able to close properly, and that diastolic murmur was early, immediately after S2. In this case, well, it's a little bit different, actually a lot different. And if you were doing echocardiogram, and that mitral valve doesn't wish to open, then your focus clinically is on a patient who sounds like exactly like that. Actually, it wasn't me that has a frog in my throat. It's the fact that my left atrium was obstructing my esophagus, so maybe I have dysphagia, and maybe it was disrupting my left recurrent laryngeal nerve, hence the soreness, or should I say more or less the hoarseness that I was exhibiting earlier, right? Why? Because the left atrium has been enlarged. Is that clear? Now, as soon as your left atrium becomes enlarged, then obviously things are going to back up into where, please? Pulmonary veins. So I have issues with the lungs. Keep that in mind, and as we move forward, well, the main distinguishing feature between mitral valve stenosis and mitral valve regurgitation, as we shall see, will be the size of the left ventricle. And those of you that are already ahead of me, then you know exactly as to what I'm referring to. And in mitral stenosis, the left ventricle is going to be rather small because you cannot get any blood into it. Okay, so if that's the case, and we have mitral stenosis and it doesn't want to open during diastole, on your left is the normal picture. On the right, guess what? I cannot open my mitral valve. Why? Well, we'll get to those etiologies here in a second, but the left atrium becomes rather large, and when it does so, you can only imagine that those structures posterior to the left atrium are then going to be compromised, including what? The esophagus your patient is going to be complaining of, dysphagia. In addition, there's going to be hoarseness, and maybe there will be issues with breathing because of pulmonary edema.